Hello, everyone. Today we are going to be speaking about week 12 of research methods in social sciences, which will be academic writing and publication. Now, in my humble opinion, this is the absolute worst week and the most boring week of them all. Like, it took me 3 days just to complete this somewhat. So let's start. So, when writing your research paper, or writing anything academic, or writing a publication, research report, you need to be clear, simple, concise, and comprehensible. Your language needs to have these traits. The second thing that you must avoid is colloquial or street language, as we call it. So I'm guessing colloquial means street language. So you must absolutely avoid this because you're trying to be professional. You're trying to be using appropriate academic terms and the language of science, of course. A well-designed layout and a systematic sequence where headings connect logically to the main title and paragraphs flow cohesively are essential for readability and to prevent unnecessary repetition. I don't think this needs more introduction. So, when we are organizing our academic study, we are going to be using the IMRA format or the IMRAD format, as they call it, which has introductions, which sets the context and identifies the problem. What are you actually trying to research? The methods, the M in IMRAD, how was the problem investigated, the systematic process, the experimental design. For example, let's say we are going to conduct a study on the effects of caffeine in humans, or are energy drinks bad or good for you? We are trying to see that. So the introduction will be our context. So we will say, oh, are energy drinks bad for humans? We are looking at this problem because it presents you with many health issues potentially. The second thing we are looking at is the method that we will use. For this research, we will be putting a rat in a sock and beating it after giving it energy drinks. So we will see if the rat suffers any adversarial side effects. And then the results. What was found. In this section, we will report that after giving copious amounts of caffeine to this rat and then beating it against the table, it has exploded, which means caffeine is bad for humans as well. And then we will refer to the discussion section, which we will say, okay, so this concludes that caffeine is bad for humans because when we gave that rat an unholy amounts of caffeine, it exploded. So energy drinks must be bad for humans as well. While this may clash with the rest of the researches that has been done about this topic, because you have to also compare it to what's already there in the field, what research has already been done. So there is also specific heading levels that should be used, which dictate centering, bolding, italics, indentation. I don't think these will be useful. So, when writing the title, as it is the first contact point of the readers, it needs to be quite short and it needs to be a descriptive label summarizing the study effectively. It needs to be quite short, ideally 12 to 15 words. So, shortest is preferable. We need to avoid jargon, abbreviations, question formats, and trademark names, or Disney might sue us in the lieu of our research. And the title relies heavily on accurate keywords to ensure the content is easily retrievable by others. Now, if we don't use keywords, so we need to use the keyword caffeine, uh, adversarial side effects, maybe. So you use those so when people search for studies that have studied this phenomenon, your research paper actually comes up. Also, there is the quite important topic of ordering author names. For example, we have 4 authors in a study. The first author is always the one who proposed the research idea and actually planned the study. Let's say we abandoned our story, so a second researcher intervened and redesigned the study that we first initially started. And he redirected a failing study. Their name would follow us, or yes, the first first researcher in the list of the names. So if you abandon your project, if you fail to complete your project, but a second person comes along and then revives it, their name will be written after your name, which is interesting. So we can say that the primary criterion for ordering their names is a level of contribution. This is important. Authors' addresses must also be entered into the fields because, for example, there is 2 people, both named Mark. Mark 1 works at Gelişim, Mark 2 works at ODTÜ or something like that. So we write these affiliation addresses to get rid of potential clashes or ambiguity. And also, when someone wants to contact you as a researcher in this project, maybe they want to do a collaboration, maybe they want to give you feedback, they can do so by reaching out to your faculty email, or they may trace you through that address. So we want to put the author's addresses as well, not personal addresses like doxing them, but we just want to put where they work at and which faculty they work at. So, writing the abstract. What is the abstract? It's a condensed, objective reflection of a study's scope and findings, usually limited in word count, allowing researchers to quickly determine if they should read the full text. So, when you open up a page, maybe you're going through archive or something like that. When you first open up the link, you see an abstract version of the study that has been conducted. We have 3 types of abstracts. The first one is informative abstracts. It lists the scope, the objectives, the methodology, the findings, and the conclusions that your research has actually yielded. Now, this is important because there's a differentiation between these 3 types. So just know that in informative abstracts, you'll list the findings and the conclusions and the methodology as well. And you also want to make sure that there's no new info listed here, like they don't introduce new information or include references and figures. You're not trying to actually go through with the research report. You're just trying to give like a rough summary of everything. And these are typically limited to 100 to 150 words, which is quite enough. The second type I will say is conference abstracts. So a conference abstract is basically when you are trying to get your research paper into a conference. You can think of it like that. You're trying to promote your work. So you are trying to capture the attention quickly with a title under 12 words, just for the sake of the convenience of the people who are holding this conference. Think of it like this. If something is convenient for the conference people, then they are more likely to actually evaluate your work. It must state the methodology, like qualitative or quantitative, your findings, and provide 5 to 10 keywords. So when you are in that conference, the people that are making the conference can actually sort through the research papers that have been given. So using that 5 to 10 keywords, they can sort your research paper to the designated area. And you must list the author's names and institutional addresses at the top. In the abstract, you have the title and then the authors and the addresses, because you're trying to get accepted into the conference, as I said. So you're trying to make it engaging and more likely for you to be accepted. Now, indicative or descriptive abstracts are often used for essays or book reviews. They don't actually report research methods, findings, or conclusions. It's more like a rough overview of what the study is discussing. So they don't really give, okay, we found this, and this through our study using this. No, they don't say that. So going back to a rat example, the descriptive abstract for a rat example could be something like, in this study, there have been methodologies used to test if caffeine is bad for humans and trying to see the adversarial side effects. You know, not going into too much detail, but still giving some detail about what the project is actually about. So they provide general information using a general to specific approach. I guess this is important as well. And they are usually 50 to 100 words long. My nose is very scratchy. I'm sorry for being disgusting on camera. So, the essential elements of an abstract go as follows. We have 6 things. The first one is background, the contextual info, and what is unknown in the field. So, why are you actually making this research? Now, what was unknown? What was missing in the field that you decided to embark on this journey to create this research paper? The purpose actually explains this. So in the background, you say there was no study that studied the adversarial side effects on caffeine on humans. So with this, we decided to take it on our hands and we decided to make this study. And for this study, we used rat pumping with caffeine approaches. And then we found adversarial results. And in conclusion, we can say that caffeine is bad for humans. And our keywords are caffeine, rat, sock, something like that. So to go into more depth, the background briefly provides contextual information and outlines what is unknown in the field. Purpose explains the reason the research was conducted. Method concisely describes the research design, data collection, and analysis. Findings are the most crucial and usually the longest part, providing a snapshot of the results. I guess this is like a phrase that you need to know. And relationships revealed. And in conclusion, you go into detail about what the findings mean, whether hypotheses were accepted or rejected, and potential practical implications. And keywords, as we said, are crucial for SEO. so online discoverability. You can add 4 to 5 core terms or abbreviations related to the research topic. Now, when writing this abstract, you need to be writing a single paragraph with fluent sentence flow, so it's not boring. Duh. We should be using active voice whenever possible, not past tense, not perfect tense, I guess. We need to be using active voice. And we need to avoid undefined abbreviations and refrain from generic opening sentences like this study addresses. They want you to be quirky like that. And it's highly recommended to write the abstract after the entire scientific work is complete. Because without having an idea about what the scientific work will yield, you don't know what to put in the abstract because it's essentially a summary. Now, we have been referring to the abstracts as a summary, but there is an actual summary field in researches as well. And the difference between these two is the fact that summary is a more broader version of the abstract, and it's included within the published work. So you see the abstract, it's like the back of a book. It tells you what the book is about and what you will get from the book. But the summary is essentially at the very end of the book, where it summarizes what you have talked about in your book. So the main difference is that it's more broader and it's listed within the research. So the core sections of a research report, we have 5 things: introduction, method, interpretation, discussion, and conclusion. I'm very bored of these, so we will just be going over them in a bit. Well, everything is worse than how it used to be like, and I got some allergy meds, so we can continue now. As we talked about, introduction, method, interpretation, discussion, conclusion. Let's start with introduction. So, the introduction provides us with a snapshot showing a comprehensive literature review has been conducted. So, when the viewers look at our paper, they can see, okay, this guy knows what he's talking about. And then it starts with a broad view. So it highlights a research gap in the literature. It defines the research question and explains the rationale and significance of the problem. So it introduces you to what will be happening. Secondly, the method. It must be described with incredible detail and clarity to allow other researchers to replicate the study. Now, replicability is the most important metric here. If you are thorough with your explanation of the method, then your paper is more likely to be accepted by the public, because then people will be able to validate it. In quantitative studies, we can see the research type, population, data collection instruments, measurement techniques, validity, reliability, sampling details. And in qualitative methods, we can see characteristics of the case, setting features, data collection, analytical conceptualization. I doubt any of these will be asked in the exam, so I would rest easy. For the interpretation phase, we get presented with a clear picture of the data analysis results. Now here is actually the data collection stage, but here is the analysis stage. The things that we learned about in the past weeks. You see, all of these stuff. We did all of these, and then we are here now. Quantitative studies compare findings against hypotheses or study purposes. It utilizes tables, graphs, and figures to clarify statistical tests. And tables should generally be consolidating information to prevent excessive detail. It's just a note, I guess. Discussion interprets the results by articulating relationships and generalizations discovered, examines consistency or inconsistency with existing literature. Any inconsistencies must be stated explicitly, so people usually cheat by not doing this and acting as if the entire science is agreeing with them. We also explored the theoretical and practical implications of the work, and we heavily cite relevant prior studies, and we link to other study icons. And then in the conclusion phase, we begin with brief background information and a restatement of the research question. We don't just repeat everything, but we just restate it in a different kind of manner. So, bullshit, I think. We summarize the findings or synthesis of ideas and discuss the broader meaning of the results. Now, I don't know uh, how these two clash, but these two are basically the same thing. You state that this could be happening here, but here you say, okay, since this is true, then this means this in the real world. And we offer practical recommendations to relevant stakeholders. So, stakeholder meeting, great. And we avoid opening with generic phrases like in conclusion. I guess they don't want us to be boring. I'm not sure. Now, here we have a bunch of rules of the language, tense, and formatting. I don't know. I mean, this is apparently not going to be in the exam, but it's always best to go through them. I vouch that you click off the video, but me, I will be suffering through these just so in the off chance that it is in the exam, I'm able to do it. So, the tenses. In the introduction, we use present tense because we are introducing everything. In the methods, we use past tense in passive voice because we've done those in the past. Me and my team, we conducted this experiment. Huh? In the findings and results, we also say past tense because we are writing the research report after the fact. We're not writing it as we are conducting the study. We act like we've done everything else, and now all that's left to do is to write the actual thing. The discussion and the conclusion is in past present tense with an active verb structure, and it's good to maintain consistent tenses across sections. The principle of consistency, authors must use the exact same terms throughout the entire study to enhance clarity and coherence. In number formatting, if the number is a single digit, then we just write it out, 1. But if it's like a double digit, like 11, you just write the double digit because they don't just want to see 231 written out in plain text. Abbreviations should be clear and consistent, and they are acceptable for units of measurement only when they're accompanied by something to measure, by a numerical value. So you cannot just say the study was conducted or the results are given in G. No, you can only say the results are given in grams. But when you are saying, for example, 50 grams, you can put 50 G. Sorry. In the formatting of the tables, the numbers and titles of tables or figures must appear at the top of the graphic, and the authors must refer to them directly by their number, like Table 1. In APA 7th edition, how we cite sources is the author's name is in the sentence and the year is in the parentheses, like this in Sönmez's 2020 study. Or if we can also do author, year, and page number, like Yilmaz 2022 P.25, if we do a parenthetical citation. If we do quotes and they're under 40 words, we use quotation marks. If they exceed 40 words, we require an indented block format like we do. You know? Incredible. If there are multiple sources, we list them chronologically if they are by the same author, like author 2001, 2004, or we use letters for the same year, like author 2001 A, 2001 B, if it's the same. If there are more than two authors, we use et al, which has a funny meaning in Latin, like and others, but I don't know the exact opening of the abbreviation. The footnote method is a traditional system which uses smaller superscript number in the text, linking the full bibliographic information at the bottom of the page, like here. And for subsequent citations of the same source, Latin abbreviations are used, like ibid, op, chit, or lok, or chit, you know. Turkish texts commonly use AGK, the aforementioned source, as an equivalent abbreviation. Writing a research proposal is written before the study begins to define the research question, explains its importance, and detail the intended methodology. A quantitative proposal is included. It includes an introduction with a broad literature review, rationale, and methods section outlining data collection and analysis, where if it's qualitative, it's often more challenging due to the in-depth nature of qualitative subjects. They require a conceptual framework and a methodology section. Proposals are strengthened by including a comprehensive reference list, a budget/cost plan, and project timeline, and a potentially pilot study. Oh my god, I'm so glad this is finally over. Well, see ya.